What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Viall Files Ask Nick edition. I'm your host, Nick, joined by Amanda and Allie. I'm going to try it. Do Amanda, Allie. Do I want you to switch?
I feel like I should switch. I don't care anymore.
We're going to just shame her into switch. I don't care. Anyway, we have Allie and Amanda. What's going on? What's new?
Hey, yo. I was told recently that I should potentially look into making a list of what I'm looking for dating-wise or what I would want in a partner. Because someone asked me, like, what would be on your list or what's, like, your kind of list of what you're looking for.
Who came up with this idea?
One of my friends. And I said, well, I want a partner. I want someone to meet me where I'm at. I want them to be just as, like, motivated as I am. And then I want them to be able to make me laugh. That's it. And she was like, no, there's more to that. You want someone who's attractive. You want someone who has similar values than you do. And so I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. There's more on the list than I guess.
I couldn't disagree more with your friend.
I feel like lately I've been trying to do the opposite. I feel like the last few people I've gone on dates with, they wouldn't have been like someone on the street that I would have been like, oh my gosh, I want to date them so badly. But I was like, let me open up this door and see what happens.
Your friend disagrees. She thinks you should narrow your focus even more.
No, I feel like maybe it's coming more so from the perspective of none of them have gotten to the point of me wanting to like actually date them seriously or have a relationship with them. So it's probably trying to eliminate the amount of dates or people I'm talking to that don't go anywhere.
How many dates are you going on?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? Can be.
I mean, like the last
give it some thought.
3 people that I've been on dates with, been on 1 to 3 dates each.
Okay. But I'm saying, yeah, how many dates, how many first dates do you think you're going on in a month?
That was something that came on in the premiere of The Bachelor. One of the girls was like, I've been on 30 first dates and I hope this is my last one. And I wrote that down as a discussion topic that we never got to, which is like, in your lifetime, how many first dates do you think you've been on?
On average, how many first dates do you think you go on in a month? Give or take.
1 a month, probably.
1 a month. And your friend thinks you that's out of control?
No, I think this is coming out of a point of love. Like, I think she genuinely just like wants me to be happy.
Sabotage
like,
you. I'm just saying I disagree with her. And I think she is not alone in her viewpoints.
Because I think there's something to be said of not just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, of like having more of a laser focus of knowing what you want to eliminate wasted time.
To a certain degree, sure. I suppose. But I think the problem I have with list building early on with dating is most of those things that you described. First of all, it's like, duh. Like, of course you want someone you find attractive. Of course someone that, is someone who cares about family. You want someone that has to be somewhat family oriented. But I think when we make these lists of relatively superficial things. Maybe superficial is the wrong word. It's not really being all that distinctive. And then we will meet someone who we think checks all these boxes. And then we get super excited about them. And that thing that many people do, or that we've all done on dates, is to get it. We want to get excited. So, it's a way to get us excited about someone. Well, check our boxes, whether it's an actual list or it's in our head. And then we want to feel that excitement on a first date, but that excitement, when we get too early, causes us to focus more on getting that person to like us rather than learning about that person. And I just don't think enough of people on these lists that they're making, they're not talking. Nowhere on that list was describing how someone makes you feel, other than I like to laugh is usually on that list of like, I want someone who's funny because, but like, how do they make me feel? How do they make me feel loved? How do they argue? How do they deal with conflict? What's their mood and their temperament? Like those I feel like are the things that when people start dating really determine compatibility and things like that. And those other lists are just a way to, I think, get us amped up for a first date or excited or, there's so much about people that we have to go out and learn about.
There's also a difference, I think, between like personhood and lifestyle. Because like matchmaking, like I've had like probably 200 Zooms with people where I've gone through, like basically asked them like, what's important to you? Like kind of a similar thing. And I think, well, with regards to kind of like the quality things, like the intangibles, like the not necessarily how someone makes them feel, but how I like view them in this certain capacity. Like, are they motivated? Are they family oriented? Like, I think kind of to what you were saying, almost everybody has the same exact thing. I think where it's helpful is when you ask people to prioritize those.
Sure.
And be like, well, which ones are at the top? Like, which one is at the top if you had to pick only 3 of those? Like, I think that can be a really helpful data point in terms of like, which things should I be the most selective about? But in terms of like things to actually look for while you're dating, it's like, ironically, like a question like when you travel, like tell me about a vacation you go on. Like, do you like to go camping? Do you like to sleep in on vacation? Do you need to go on an itinerary? What kind of hotels do you like to stay at? Like that tells you, I think, a lot about the kinds of things that like come into this like shared life element of partnership and compatibility. Like I feel like you have spoken before about how you and Natalie are just like, there's a lot of compatibility that makes things easy and like a non-issue. Like you just naturally want to do the same thing.
I feel like for matchmakers, like whether it's professionally or as friends, I feel like lists make a lot of sense for like, especially for friends on the looking out for you, and that can be helpful. I just think for ourselves, sometimes lists early on distract us from just being open-minded and asking questions and getting to know someone. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to online dating.
I feel like it's also maybe kind of like the way I would think of a list. I think if I had one, like would probably be as like a means of like a security blanket almost, of just being like, I'm scared that, there's no like one objective answer of like what's being too picky, what's settling too easily. And so if I have this list and I make sure that people tick it, then I can know I'm not settling. Like, I think I would probably use it as a means of trying to
really
like.
Depends on what's on the list.
Yeah.
But I feel like most people put, family oriented, hard worker, motivated, likes their family. Like what?
I like these little hand.
I'm just saying, like, where does that get you? But like, cause how many fuckboys fall into that list? You know what I'm saying? Like every fuckboy's like, I love my
they
my
love
family.
their mom. They love their moms.
Oh my God. And like, I'm focused on work. Too busy with work right now. Super motivated for my career. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I just don't know if that really gets you anywhere. And I think sometimes like, we know what we like. We know what we're attracted to. So it's like, go out with people that you find some sort of like physical attraction to, and like get to know them and ask some questions and see where it goes. But I think it's good to think about the things that you like going into dates, right? And maybe make a list of questions and be mindful of, like you said, like think about questions about compatibility, things diets, things like that. And, like what, it might be like what you enjoy to eat or what you enjoy to watch, like, those might be, again, not non-negotiables, but yeah, that might tell you a little bit about something about the things that they enjoy doing and their passions. And, like you figure that out.
An area that's like that I sometimes think about, which is just that like, I need to be walked like a dog. Like I become...
Tell me more.
I become so
like
pent up. No. Like
so I need to be walked like a dog.
No, I just like, I need to be walked regularly. Like I need to like stretch my legs. Like it's not just like, I like to get outside. Like I get like very like, that's like.
What do you mean? You like to walk, or what do you mean you like to be taken?
I like to walk, but it is
like the way you're talking about it. You're like, you can't walk unless someone's walking with you.
No, but the reason I say I need to be walked, I can walk myself, but is like it's like dogs like need to go out every day. Like it's like they'll get crazy when they're kept inside. Like it's not good for them. Like it feels like that for me, where like I feel like my functioning like nosedives.
Uh-huh.
And I realized, like, I think I want to walk more than my boyfriend does. And it is something that, like, actually, it's not a big deal. And sometimes he'll, like, bite the bullet and walk.
He doesn't like a walk?
He just, like, there's a lot of things where it's, like, if it's a 15-minute walk, I want to do that. He's like, let's just make it a 2-minute drive. And, like, that's an area, low-key, where I'm sometimes, like,
he says no to a walk? I mean, I'm not, like, sometimes I'll suggest a walk with Natalie, but I'm definitely more... I'll never say no to a walk. Never. I mean, but like if I'm available and free, and it's that or like sitting on my phone on the couch, fuck yeah, I'll say yes to a walk. He's saying no to a good 10-minute walk.
He's not. I have a lot of friends who are just like aren't like if I was like, can we please go on a walk? Although sometimes actually,
really, you have a lot of friends who are just like anti-walk.
Yeah, and it drives me crazy because I'm like,
and they would rather do what?
Drive? Is this like in a
What do you mean
commute
by
or is this
who
like
wants
a
to drive
pastime?
more than walk?
It's just like it's
Like,
I
are
don't
you-
mean like to a place. I understand.
like the functionality. Like friends who are just like, we can like hang out and talk like inside, or we can be cooking while we hang out. Like, you know, like who it's not like they're like, I want to just sit like a bump on a wall. Like, but who just aren't trying to walk, and I'm trying to walk constantly.
I didn't like to walk until I figured out the right socks for me because I blister like it's my day job. So maybe we could just recommend the correct socks for him.
Some good footwear. Does he have
Yeah.
a footwear problem?
No, I mean sometimes he'll work like, because he works on like music video, like he does.
He's been on his feet. Yeah.
His stuff is like, he does like really physically demanding work. So I get
Okay,
like
there's that.
I
yeah.
get after like a long day, but I don't ask him to walk at the end of a long day. I'm just like, can we
He
walk?
would rather go for a drive.
No, drive somewhere. Like if they're
yeah,
going
like
to a
there's
restaurant.
a grocery store or like a restaurant down the street, and he'll drive. He'd much rather drive. Then there's
Well,
other
sure,
times where I'm
that's
like,
slightly
can we go for
changing.
a walk?
How? Yeah.
And he's not into it. He won't say no. Like if I like was like,
I would never say no to a 15-minute walk to a restaurant. Natalie
And-
might though. It's footwear is different.
If she's wearing heels, it's different.
But she also really likes to walk. But like every once in a while, it's like I'm not. You know, she's dressed up or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
I'm
really
making
wear
her walk.
footwear that I can't walk in, because I just like, I have so much awe for people who can like endure discomfort in the name of fashion. I feel like that's where my like New England practicality comes
I
in.
don't think I've ever seen you in heels.
Yeah.
Do you own heels?
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, but like not that I wear unless it's like a wedding.
Like how many are they called? Pumps?
Sure.
Like stilettos, 0. In terms of like heels over like 2.5 inches, I have one pair of amazing boots that has flames on them, and I wear them so
That
infrequently.
has flames
That's
on
fun.
them?
Yeah, they're
You're like
very-
Lightning McQueen.
Yeah, they're not like I did a bad job of describing it. It's not like that makes it sound like really
Like Guy Fieri.
I'm
Sign
picturing
them.
these boots right now. Can you bring them
Flavor
up?
Town.
Do you have a
yeah,
picture
I
of 'em?
totally do actually. Very quickly, I just wanted to say, if we were back to your list thing, like
Oh.
within the model of like, if there were to be like prioritized things, like what do you think your top few things on the list would be? Or like I don't know if you actually did it with your friend, but was there anything that you found was like super like relevant or helpful?
I mean, yeah, let's make a list, but like, let's make a good list.
Yeah, I would say. See, now I feel like I'm on like.
Yeah, you know.
No, I would say the like being equally as motivated or like more of like a power couple partner vibe is very high on that.
Great, but that's not something you really will know. You'll have to get to know someone to really know if you're
Yeah,
compatible that way.
but I'm just
'Cause that's one of those things
You
you can't-
asked me for a list.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. So like, this is us brainstorming a list and like what's actually useful on a list
Yeah.
versus like, because a list would be something that you have like, you know, in your back pocket as you are kind of filtering out a bunch of options for people you ultimately know nothing about, right? So like, if you're going to have a list like that, it needs to be something that is both like something you can tell fairly quickly without really getting to know them, you
Mhm.
know, that they could tell you. And 2, it's got to like actually serve some purpose as it relates to like what you're trying to find and build, you know? Like, you know, maybe like wanting kids could be on that list because that's a non-negotiable. And that's something, for the most part, you can find out early on whether someone is interested in having kids or not. You know,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
sure,
I
that
don't
can
know if
change.
that's a non-negotiable for me, but
I'm
Yeah.
I'm just giving an example
Yeah.
of,
yeah.
you know, a potential list that people could have
Mm-hmm.
where they want to live, you know, things like that. But yeah, like I want someone to be motivated and us be both career focused. Like, yeah, I mean, people can say that about themselves, but you know what I'm saying? That's one of those things people could self-identify, and you could go on a couple dates with them, and then you could realize, yeah, you might think you're motivated, but
Yeah.
you're not like me. And so you're just going to have to go and get to know them. So, and that's
But
why
I think that's
when it comes
that,
to list,
that part of the list I've been able to figure out very early on for everyone I've dated
how so?
or gone on a first date with, of like how they fill their days.
Well, how are you qualifying this? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, like think about 2 of the last 3 people I've gone on dates with. I think it's like kind of easy to know if someone is like passionate about their career and is like moving up the ladder or like showing up to work every day. Like, you'd be shocked the amount of people in LA who are just like chilling.
Tough in LA because it's like, I mean, people have to find that passion and find that job, and it's tough to be motivated for people who haven't yet found something that motivates them. And so, you know what I'm saying? You could be going on dates with a lot of guys that in the right environment could be gangbusters and just really be crushing life, but they're just kind of trying to find that lane. And it's, especially LA, it's a tough world to find someone who's still on the search for a career or a profession and be highly motivated.
That's something that I think is so hard to think about, like, because I think ultimately I'd want a partner who, if I was like just had a like wicked depressive bout and was really like lost and struggling and like searching to like pivot professionally and find a calling, like I would want someone who like accepts and supports me through that. But then and I think acceptance is such a big thing for all people's partners, is wanting to feel accepted by another person. But then dating is kind of inherently like the opposite of acceptance, because you're deciding, like you're judging. And so it's like really hard to know. And granted, it's like, why would you invest in someone who is like struggling when you could probably find someone who's not, is I feel like the mentality that a lot of people have in dating, which is like,
yeah, because the more, while you're talking about, I'm thinking like, as a highly motivated person myself, I am attracted to people who are also motivated and have some sort of purpose. But like, again, I think about Natalie, right? It's just like, that definitely just wasn't on my radar. And I didn't really think about or consider or even know about like, her work ethic until maybe a few months in, it's just, and I feel like if that was something I put on top of my priority list early on and was really focused on trying to figure out how motivated of a person she is, I definitely think I could have got it wrong. I think the list thing can be something that gets us in trouble early on. So I don't know. Housekeeping notes for the week.
Tune in to our Bachelor recap, to our Going Deeper. And, not what I was expecting.
Yeah, not what I was expecting.
So we have our Bachelor recap with Jim Jeffries.
yes,
Friend of show,
Thank
our
God.
favorite.
I cannot wait to tell. It's the first time I went to Vegas was
She
on
loves
account of
Jim
Jim Jeffries,
Jeffries.
and I can't wait to tell him about my trip this weekend.
You have a little crush on Jim.
I don't.
Not like in a romantic way, as a human.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have like a dinner party crush on Jim Jeffries.
Yeah.
Like I would forever like to be on each other's dinner parties list.
Going Deeper. Taylor and Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, that
Get
should
the
be a lot of
Lautners,
fun.
Give some wedding
Catch up
and
on what they're
marriage
doing with their
advice.
love and their
Yeah.
relationship. Maybe they have some marriage or wedding planning advice for me, and it'll be great to catch up with them and see what they're up to. Be a ton of fun with the Lautners.
Our live show.
Our
on
live
AMP.
show.
Better
AMP.
date than never.
Better date than never. Don't miss it. It's a ton of fun. People are loving it. The reviews are in. Everyone thinks it's the most amazing show and fun.
Hit.
All about date. We're talking icks and one-liners and drinks, and we're helping people figure out if they should go on second dates. All very dating focused. It's like having a large group of friends that break down all your dates, and we're letting people join in. It's live and interact with us. Make sure you tune in. We're back to 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I know we moved it last week, but we're going to try to stick with our regularly scheduled program. Is that it?
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out the update episode from last week, be sure to give that a
make sure
listen.
to check out that update episode. Dropped on Friday. Everyone loves those. Let's get to our callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
Nicole. I'm 30 years old.
How can we help, Nicole?
So I just got out of a 4-year situationship with a manipulative older man-child that I have to continue working with.
Okay. And I'm assuming your question is like, how do you navigate that, basically?
Exactly. So we've been through many different cycles of our relationship over the past 4 years, but we've never totally closed the door on any sort of relationship, whether it be a friendship, romantic, otherwise. So now we have to work together almost every day, and I'm trying to navigate how to be professional without wanting to come across as a psychopath.
Okay. Well, get the worrying about coming across as a psychopath out of your head. I mean, I'm assuming you're not a psychopath, but
No.
you're allowed to get upset. doesn't mean you're a psychopath. I'd love for you to share with us what was the kind of catalyst for you to finally decide to move on. For the people who are out there in long-term situationship, what was it for you that made you finally kind of wake up and realize I'm not getting what I deserve in this, other than obviously you reading my book? I'm just kidding.
I did read your book, and actually there was that one section that I felt like struck home to me, and I'm like, wow, I'm being called out. And that played a role later in my healing process. But for me, with him, it actually, somebody else came into my life, and I had kind of shunned off relationships. And even though I had told everybody, no, I'm totally open and receptive to potentially meeting other men, I definitely wasn't. And I was holding out hope. And then I finally was open and met somebody who showed me what it actually meant to be in a healthy, communicative relationship. And for somebody that I knew for a couple of weeks treated me better than somebody that I knew for over 4 years was a big wake-up call.
Okay.
And told me I needed to make some changes in my life.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to find that. Are you in a committed, defined relationship with this new person?
Unfortunately, no. So when I met him, he was coming out of a marriage, a 3-month marriage, and they were going through a divorce, had been separated for 8 months. And I think I was the first person that he had met that he was interested in post-marriage. And we went on a date and we were there for 5 hours and connected. It was a beautiful thing. And then it kind of snowballed, but very quickly. And I think it was a little bit of trauma bonding going on and some other things that like brought us together like very quickly. And then I went away on vacation and he was like freaking out that I was gone. And I was like, oh, we've known each other like a month and this is a little crazy. But okay, like we like attention. And then I got back and he was like, I'm not okay. Like, I'm not ready to be in a relationship. I'm not over my marriage yet. So unfortunately, we had to separate after knowing that information.
Well, I'm kind of glad, to be honest,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry that he was in that situation, but it sounds like you were able to take from that situation all the positive aspects that you needed to get out of this past relationship, which is great. You needed that kind of catalyst, you needed that wake up call. But I'm glad that it sounds like, despite being disappointed about this new guy, you didn't revert back to wanting to be with the old guy. It was more just, hey, once I gave someone another shot, they treated me in a way that I desired and I want, and if nothing else, this new guy kind of gave you a glimpse of the type of behavior you should be searching for and expect and be patient for and willing to fight for, rather than giving people who constantly show you that they're not willing to do that. And I think that's a fairly positive outcome.
Yes. Unfortunately, though, I wasn't that smart at the time, because while I was dating the new guy, I was talking to the guy I was in a situationship with still, and we would go out to lunch and we were texting, and I knew myself and that I had to draw the line at a certain point. With the new guy, it was getting quite serious. I'm like, all right, I can't continue doing this. I did get back in contact with my situationship and we like made plans to hang out, and it ended up falling through. And that's what ultimately led me to end things, because when he canceled the plans on us having dinner, I found out that week that when the night we were supposed to go out, that he went out with his guy friends. And he had told me this via text message, and I was like, oh, okay, so you have time to go out with your guy friends, but don't have time to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, my priorities are my kids, guys' night, golf, and you can sit there and wait.
He said that to you.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't wait for anybody. I'm not a dog. And he he responded and said, oh, well. And I was like, it's really embarrassing that you think you can make that comment and you think that that's appropriate. And he's like, well, you thought it was okay for you to tell me that you don't wait for anybody. I was like, well, we all have our limits.
Yeah. I mean, actually, it's probably the nicest thing he did for you was say that to you, to be honest.
Yeah, because that showed me like his real character. I was like, that was a really disgusting comment, and that's where what you think of me and
I
your
mean,
hierarchy.
it just showed you where his priorities lied, and he said it in a very honest way that was very sobering for you to hear. You know, like in the past, my guess is he did it. He wasn't as honest and sugarcoated how he really felt. I mean, like he's not a bad person for having priorities that aren't in line with you. He was a bad guy because he was never really that honest with you, and then finally chose to say it not because he wanted to be honest, but he was upset with you for how you communicated with him. Yeah. So back to your original question, you work with this guy? Sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. So we don't work on the same team or in the same company, but we work together on the same projects that we're going to continue working with each other probably over the next year. And him and his brother own their company. And I have a really good relationship with his brother. And it's been hard because there's a lot of layers, like there was family involved and everything, like in this situationship over the course of the years. And ultimately, when I held him accountable after this text message incident had occurred, and calling him out for the past like 4 years of the way that he has treated me and it being on his terms when it's convenient for him and he sees me when he wants to see me, he told me essentially that I was delusional, that I was like living a Hallmark fantasy and to stop involving myself in his family. And I felt like there was, obviously there's no coming back from that. And the communication between him and I moving forward would need to be handled through people that we work with aside from him, which it's just not possible, especially him being one of the partners of the company and us actually having to be with each other in a real life setting multiple times a week. So his brother and I, who are also good friends, I'm trying to like navigate that relationship. And I don't know what he knows or what he has been told. And then trying to work together and be normal in front of professionals that know us to be like really good friends and try to act like there's no tension or drama there. When actually yesterday he like basically had a meltdown in front of everybody and acted like completely unprofessional. And it was the first time we had seen each other since this happened.
What did he do when he had the meltdown? Like, give us some deets.
So just for context, he's 46 years old.
Okay.
So there's an age gap there. So he's an, older, more mature, you would think. So we're sitting there talking about just stuff that was going on for the project. And for the first time, he ignored me in the beginning of the meeting. I'm like, okay, we can do this. You want to ignore me? Fine. And then it came to the point where we actually had to communicate. And when we did it, it was fine. We made eye contact, we talked. And that was always like what bonded us together was working. Like we're both very passionate about what we do. So that's kind of what always connected us and drew us back to each other. So we kind of like hit our stride with that. So we were having scheduling conflicts that ultimately delayed the project. And when he found out about that, he was using that almost as like a catalyst to say why he was unable to perform his work at the time that he was supposed to. And in this situation, he's a subcontractor and I'm the client. So technically he works for me and I'm his boss. So he was just, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So he was just acting just unprofessionally and was like, no, I'm not meeting your schedule. I can't be there. And not even directly to me, but to the contractor that he works for directly. And they know that we have a relationship, but professionally in any other situation, that would be unacceptable for me to tolerate that kind of behavior and someone telling me that they can't do the job that they're being paid to do. And in the past, I would always make excuses for him because I understood like his pipeline and the volume of work that he had going on. So I was more sympathetic to him. And at this point, I owe him nothing. And I don't need, like, he was looking at me to back him up to agree that the project had been delayed. So therefore, he couldn't show up to do the job that he needed to do. And everybody he was screaming. And there was about like 50 people at the project and everybody was staring at him. And I just walked away and got in my car and I'm like, this isn't my problem anymore.
That's great. I love that. I love that you had that. I mean, had that response. I mean, all all you can do is, it sounds like, just keep doing what you're doing, you know? Yeah, you just have to continue to remind yourself that you finally really saw him for who he is and the type of person that he is, and then just accept that that is who he is as a 47-year-old man. Like, there's no one's changing here. You know what I'm saying? So you have to, people in your shoes who relapse or fall back into this trap, well, then, once you start missing him or get lonely, you'll be like, well, I just miss these moments, or I miss our conversations, and he would always do this and it would make me feel good, and blah, 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 blah. You have to stop only prioritizing the ways he only made you feel good and stop deprioritizing the ways he made you feel bad.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right.
And so if you find yourself wondering and missing him or considering hanging out with him, you need to say, hey, you need to have this kind of conversation with yourself and stop. No, what am I saying yes to? I'm saying yes to a person who, said these things, and it doesn't matter if he's going to, oh, I'm sorry, I was just having a bad day. It's you have 4 years of evidence about who he is and what he is prioritizing. And he's just not going to magically change. He might try to meet his immediate needs by changing his tune and saying things, but it's not changing his overall, character or who he is, or changing his priorities or anything like that. And then, maybe you do take advantage of the fact that you have a pretty solid relationship with his brother. And I don't think you need to get into it. And I don't think you need to sit down with him and have a cup of coffee and get into all the tea and the drama. But I think you just get to say to him, hey, listen, I don't know if you know this, but we're no longer, hanging out. I'm fine. I hope he's fine, but I just want to move forward, and obviously have a working relationship, so I want to maintain and keep things professional, and I just want to from a professional standpoint, just keep you in the loop. I promise I'll continue to be professional. I'll keep this working relationship going. Obvious as a person, as a friend, I think you're great, and we can be friends, but I also understand if you need to be a brother to your brother first, and we will just, if nothing else, we'll just be, great professional colleagues. And just kind of set that expectation with his brother without getting into the drama. I think if the brother wants to get into the drama, I think you just try to avoid it and just say, hey, I really want to keep this professional. I want to focus on maintaining this working relationship. That should be your priority. And you just communicating that with his brother, I think, would be a positive thing.
So actually, I'm supposed to be going out to lunch with his brother on Friday.
Okay.
And been trying to get together with me. I think he knows something, but I don't know that he knows the full story. So that's what I've kind of been struggling with. It's okay, it's really none of his business, the full reason why we're no longer in the situation we were, but there needs to be some context. And since this has happened, his daughter reached out to me directly, asking me for a job. His parents are still communicating with me, and it's very uncomfortable because I had
you gotta shut all that down. I don't even know if lunch with his brother is the best thing. You'll have to judge for yourself, but I strongly feel that you need to go out of your way to set the tone that this is now going forward simply just a professional relationship. And you're down to be friends with him.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't come in conflict with him being a brother. You understand that he might need to be a brother to his brother and business partner. And that's fine. I want to be your friend, but I understand that you might have other priorities, but I do want to make sure that we're good on a professional level. We're good. And just know that I will go out of my way to make sure and avoid any drama, and I will, keep my personal feelings about your brother aside. It's just, and I wouldn't even I wouldn't talk shit to his brother at all.
No.
You just say, I just decided to move on. It wasn't going anywhere, and he wasn't able to give me what I wanted more. And I just accepted that, it's been a long time coming. And it's just best going forward. And I would just be really level-headed about it, and just, even if I know, and I'm sure it might be much easier said than done, but, I think from a professional standpoint, it'll go a long way. And I think, as far as his parents, and maybe if his parents are reaching out, you just simply, I wouldn't ghost them, but I would just maybe have that conversation with, if they're still reaching out, you just say, hey, listen, like, I don't know if you've heard, but like, I'm no longer dating your son, and I wish you guys nothing but the best. I think you were wonderful parents, and blah, 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 blah. But, we're no longer dating, and I need to move on. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the part where I don't trust myself is this has happened before where we've like cut off communication and then it's like a cycle and it comes
You're gonna
back.
have a moment. You're gonna have maybe many moments.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to really prepare yourself for that. And just knowing that it's gonna happen is step one. And it's
Yeah.
gonna happen when, like maybe from a dating standpoint, things slow down, and and when he really believes that you're gone, he's gonna start being super fucking charming, and he's gonna say a bunch of things, and he's gonna start like, acting like the person you always wanted him to be. He's just not. He's 40 fucking 7 years old. He's been doing this for 4 years. Like, the amount of work that would be required for him to change who he is as a person would take years, I would think. I want you to get to a place in feeling this way when you're more or less kind of indifferent, when you've lost that anger, and you get to a more stable, possibly boring state of mind, and still see him for who he is, because your anger kind of is propelling you right now. And when you lose that anger and you start getting over the hurt of what he said to you, and it just like, it's like, whatever, when that dies down, that's when you will be susceptible to want to hang out with him in the future. And when the anger dies down, you need to still think of this situation the way you think of it now, and still value what you deserve to have in a relationship, and still remember how this other guy, despite him, not being ready to pursue you, it wasn't about him or why he treated you the way he did. It was just the fact that he did treat you that way, and he showed you that it's possible, and he showed that there are men out there and people out there who can give you what you deserve and prioritize you the way you want to be prioritized. And you just remember that feeling, and just, be patient for it. But like, and then use that feeling of frustration that you wasted energy on him is kind of a shield to not give in and not waste any more time, and go out there and give other men and other people, your energy and your time, because our time is limited, and stop wasting it on him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think just also peeling the layers back from his family and distancing that, because I
Yeah.
always had some sort of like piece of him, like if it was his brother or his parents or his sister-in-law, like there was some layer of him that was still present even if he wasn't there. And I feel like just removing all of that from my life will also be very helpful in
Exactly. I mean, and because you have the kind of complicated work relationship, you don't,
Yeah.
you'll have to decide for yourself what you can handle, but focus on professionalism as it relates to your job. If his, the daughter, it was a daughter or whatever, can you help her? Sure. But you're helping her as a mentor, and you're kind of like as a third party. Hey, I can make an introduction, but you're not there to sit down with her and give her boy advice or even like really career advice. It's just more like from a distance. Sure, you can send an email and put in a good word for her, but that's about it. Like, you're not there to, to be her.
She wanted to work
No.
directly for me. Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta set that
Yeah.
boundary and shut
Yeah.
it down. But yeah, focus on being on the professionalism aspect of it all, and shut down any kind of intimate relationship with his family or his kids, or certainly him, or even the brother. Like, if the friendship, you're not really gonna be friends with this guy. You can be friendly with him, but like, you
Yeah.
guys aren't gonna be friends. And don't kid yourself that you can, because that's just you, as you mentioned, holding on to hope, and we need to let hope, as it relates to him, go.
I had hope for 4 years. I think the hope is dead at this point. If it didn't change over the 4 years, and like you said, he's 46 years old, he's set in his ways, and if he's not trying to change, then I just have to accept that and move on.
Yeah. All right. Well, check in with us in a few months. I don't disappoint me.
No, I won't. I won't let us both down, Nick.
All right. All right. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Bye-bye. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
My name is Riley, and I'm 28 years old.
How can we help, Riley?
Me and my long distance boyfriend are not willing to compromise on moving to one another.
Okay. Well, it's a bit of a non-negotiable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of come down to that a little bit.
I mean, like, the short answer is you're gonna have to break up. But kind of. I
That's
mean,
what I'm
yeah.
nervous
I mean,
about.
so have you both said, "Hey, it's like I'm
So,
not moving." Like, where have we when it comes to these conversations? Is it really like we know that neither of us are doing it, or is it more neither of us we really don't want to do it?
I'm pretty non-negotiable about it. I do not want to move where he is. It's our hometown. And so I'm not willing, really. He says he's not willing, and it's all valid reasons, but I kind of think if I like pulled the like neither of us want to move, so we need to break up, I think he would be like, okay, I'll move type thing. Like, okay, I'll do it, you know?
I mean, it might be what you
But
have
I
to
don't,
do.
I also think he would resent me a lot because he doesn't like it here where I am. And I also don't want it to come to that.
You might not have a choice. It's definitely possible he could resent you.
I think I truly, genuinely think he would. Like, not like it here and not like me and just hate the whole entire situation.
Is it like you're from a small town and now you live in a city type of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't live in a giant city, but I live in a bigger city. He's in our hometown and he's comfortable there. He's very happy there. And I just don't want to be there.
Well, as it relates to you, like, is there any part of you when you think about the fact that you might break up as a result of this? Is there even 1% of you that's kind of like, I mean, I get to get on the apps and date a little bit. I'm kind of curious what's out there. Like,
not really.
No,
honestly.
Okay. All right.
Like
you're truly just sad about this situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of really good things about our relationship that I love, but I can't get past us having this issue.
Yeah, it's a big issue, and it's definitely a
Yeah.
potential non-negotiable.
Yeah.
But sometimes people have to make tough choices and tough sacrifices, and
Right.
he might, have feelings of resentment, but can you work through that? Probably. I would certainly highly encourage you guys to seek out couples therapy if you guys make that decision. And you're going to, if he does make this move for you, you're going to have to go out of his way to, show that gratitude and make some, you're going to have to figure out what sacrifices can you make to even the playing field. You certainly are going to have to travel back home probably a lot,
I mean, that's kind of the thing is we're only 4 hours apart.
Okay,
and
that's
so it's not
doable.
a huge trek, but I spend almost every weekend there. So I'm like living like this double life type thing. I live at his house on the weekends.
I mean, yeah. So do you really, you have so many great things. You said you have so many great things about this relationship you love. Are you really, are you both going to end this relationship because of a 4-hour car ride? Like he can't move and be with the woman he loves. And despite it not being, his first place to live, he's still a 4-hour drive away to and now that you guys live together, you're going to get a little sick of each other. You're going to be on top of each other a little bit. And he can be like, babe, going home for the weekend, hanging out with the boys. And you could be like, great, I'll see you on Sunday night.
Really?
And, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's the fact that it's only a 4-hour drive is like it's like very doable
Yeah.
here, you know?
That's what my point kind of is. I feel like it's more of a non-negotiable for me that I don't go there. We don't talk about it a lot right now, but we have like a lot of pressure from like other people like, "Oh, when are you moving home? When is he moving?" like type of thing.
Yeah, and eventually you will need to be together.
Yeah, we know it's not sustainable, and I think it kind of is getting to that point, and that's why I kind of wrote in because I'm kind of exhausted
What are your
from just
reasons
traveling.
for not being willing to move home? I'm just curious. I mean,
Well, I've been in this area for like 7 years now, and I love my job. I love my coworkers. I love my boss. I have really good friends here. I have structure, like schedule, like I just am very happy with who I am here. And I tried to move home like 2 years ago, and it only lasted 8 months, and that's like when I met him.
mm, interesting.
And yeah, and
And
so
and then for him, what are those like? Would he say the exact same thing that you're saying to me?
yeah, he
What's he
has
What's he do for work?
like blue collar. He's a welder.
They could probably do that anywhere, huh?
Well, the thing is his company has a sister company here that he could just transfer to. And it's way more money here because it's a bigger city, more opportunity. And so I just think it's more beneficial to both of us.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, like that's all great that you think that, but like,
Mhm.
from his point of view, like, you like, it's kind of a waste of your energy to try to convince him. You know, he's just you're
Yeah.
gonna have to just simply say, I need you to for us to be together,
Mhm.
and I want you to because I love you, but
Mhm.
I got to put my foot down here. Someone's got to put their foot down, and I'm putting my
Right.
foot down, and and because I did try. I have tried, and
Right.
I can't do it. And I will understand if you can't do it either. I'm just truly hoping that you can do this for us. And he
Mhm.
could say, "Well, I want you to do this for us too." And you could say, like, I know, but I'm you know, someone's going to have to
Mm.
just rise above, and then you're
Yeah,
going to
it's
have to
hard.
figure out ways how to make him feel like you're going to make some sacrifices for him in the relationship, because the resentment is going to come from
Mhm.
him being the one to do this and him making the sacrifice, and I did this for you and I did this for us, and what are you doing, and whether he actually says
Yeah.
that or feels that. So you're going to have to figure out ways to go out of your way to show your appreciation, to make sacrifices.
I think that's where I get kind of stubborn
How so?
is I'm like, I go there every weekend and I sacrifice all this time and I'm kind of living like this double life where I go to him all the time constantly.
So
And so I'm like, the
he's
least
not visiting you at all. You're not flip
I
flopping.
mean, he does. It's like 75%
Okay.
me going there, him 25%.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge thing, but it gets exhausting, especially after like a year and a half of doing it.
I think potentially framing that not as a like scorekeeping, you owe me this, but as a more a
Yeah.
way of saying, I care about you so much.
Mhm.
And these
Mhm.
are the ways that I try to demonstrate in actions that I care about you and that I prioritize this relationship and I want it to work. So that way, like,
Right.
hopefully not triggering defensiveness, but then
Mhm.
in kind of demonstrating the ways that you have tried to care for in the past, and also leaving it very open-ended of how can, if you were to move with me, like, what can we do to mitigate that? How can I step up in every way possible to make that better?
How
Which I'm willing to do
Yeah.
for
Have
sure.
you expressed to him the frustrations about how often you're going there versus him coming here?
Yeah, and he actually really does. When I do communicate it, because sometimes I shut down. When I do communicate it, he responds well and he's like, And like he even came last weekend and he's coming this weekend type thing.
Great.
So he responds well, but I don't communicate it super well, which I realize. But I think another thing for us with him moving here is he owns his own house in our hometown,
Mm.
and I rent and I have a roommate, and so I think that would be different for us if he moved here, because I'm not sure if we could like buy a house or rent a house, and like living situations would be different. And so I really like I think into the future a lot, and
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I just can't get past
he definitely
him.
has that, like, from an, well, I'm more settled here. I have a house. It just makes more
Yeah,
sense,
yeah,
But
yeah,
he, in terms of like what makes more sense, it sounds like there's a tie, you know?
yeah. That's what's it's
So
so
I guess
hard.
I only say that because you just throw that out the window. You
Mm-hmm.
guys need to stop having these negotiations because it's kind of a moot
Mm-hmm.
point. You know that you're not willing to move. That's it.
Yes, I
That's
do know
fine.
that.
And call it what you want. You just know that, and that's important that you know that because like you can't be happy. So you guys like, well, I have a house, but you have a job here. At the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
regardless, the fact that he has a sister company there makes it nice if he does decide to move. But that's not why
Yeah,
he's going to move. He's going to move because he's not willing to lose you. That's it. It's that
right.
simple. And he's going to be
We
willing to
had
make the
kind of
sacrifice.
like
Yeah.
yeah, we had kind of like we don't talk about it a lot, but like we had kind of a conversation, and he was like, "So you're saying if I don't move, we have to break up?" And I was like, I don't really like want to dive deep into this because I don't think any of it's going to happen anytime soon, you know? And
Well, you
so I
can't keep
just kind of shut
avoiding
the
it.
conversation
Yeah,
down.
you got to stop
Yeah,
doing
okay.
that. Yeah. You
Okay.
got to face it.
I
Yeah.
wonder, could it be helpful to frame it as like, can you live here for a year? Like, get renters for your house. We'll go, like sign a year-long lease and sort of
I've
say
thought
like,
about that.
I've done, because you tried the hometown thing for 8 months, almost a year. And so just framing it as this is not like the end of the conversation. Granted, of course, like I don't, you know yourself best, so I don't want you to feel like
Yeah.
you're setting this up for like an even bigger bomb to go off a year down the line. But even just like framing it as like, I want to do what's best for us. Let's see how we grow and the relationship evolves. Like,
Sure.
Mhm.
Could he
Yeah.
rent the house too?
I am assuming he could. I don't think it's the worst idea. Yeah. I think he could, easier than me moving there. So,
Yeah, I mean, again, like what's easier and harder? I think you need to just kind of drop that. It's going to
okay.
be an inconvenience to him to move. It's going to be an inconvenience to you if you were to like change tune and move there.
Mhm.
You guys are both going to have to make sacrifices to make this relationship work. That's all that really matters. And you guys get into the
Mhm.
weeds when you start like, trying to value or devalue, you know, uh, each other's priorities or
Yeah, I think
deciding for the
that's
other
what it
person, well, it's no big deal because they have a sister company. You,
Yeah, I
it's
think
it.
that's what it
You
kinda
got to
comes
stop
down
doing
to.
that with each other. It's like, well, I have to sell. It, either it's worth it or it's not. Either you're going to make sacrifices or you're not. And
Mhm.
it just comes down to that. And then figuring
Yeah.
out together what sacrifices you guys are willing to make as a team
Mhm.
to make this relationship work, because you will have to continue to make sacrifices for this relationship to work. And he might have to make this
Yeah.
big one and move, but you will still have to figure out other sacrifices to make it work. And I do think you need to stop
Yeah.
avoiding the conversation because you might as well find out sooner than later.
Yeah, I feel like the conversation is there between, like, everyone besides me and him.
Yeah. So
So,
start having it, and say
yeah.
like, listen, I ultimately, yes, because I just know deep down in my heart, I won't be the same person and I'll be different.
Mhm.
And maybe
Mhm.
you feel the same way. And I hope that you don't. And I'm just
Mhm.
really hoping, because I do love you, that you're willing to do this, but I can't, and I'm sorry. But yeah, I do think, unfortunately, as much as it breaks my heart, and I will be truly heartbroken, that I don't think we're going to last unless you're willing to move.
Yeah.
And then from Mana's point of view, maybe you suggest, like, would you be willing to try it for a year?
Yeah,
And
that's
then you
a
both have to
good idea.
accept that, like, Well, he's like, well, but then I don't have to like rent. Yeah, like you guys are gonna have this is going to create inconveniences.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it like trying it for a year. Because he can, I mean, if it doesn't work out, he can always go back. I think that's my thing is where if I moved there, I know I'd be unhappy and I probably wouldn't be able to come back to like my job, whatever, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. But he just, I don't know. It's difficult.
It is, but it's not impossible, and you just have to be
Yeah.
willing to have the conversation. You guys just
So
gonna
I
have to
guess
deal
if
with it.
he's really not willing to, I guess that means like we're just not
Yeah.
meant to be together for a long time.
I mean, at the end of the day, as much as it like, it's you hate saying it because it's like when he's like,
Hmm.
oh, so if I don't move, you're gonna break up with me. It sounds
Yeah.
shitty to say, yeah, but the
I
reality
know.
is like, religion, politics sometimes, unfortunately, where you want to live, those are non-negotiables. They're not pet peeves. Those are
Yeah.
important things that like you need to be on the same page on to make a relationship work. And that
Right.
and speaks to your lack of compatibility despite,
Hmm.
how much you care about each other. And that might be a tough reality to face, but it's still a reality.
I
And
know.
avoiding it is just wasting each other's time.
Yeah, that was my other thing is I'm like, if neither of us are willing, like, do we just enjoy kind of like the really good things about our relationship, or should we just end it?
No, I mean, a
And there's no
non-negotiable is a
good end to it.
non-negotiable, and non-negotiables are reasons to end relationship, despite love still existing
Ugh.
between the two people, because you both realize I need this to be happy. I don't want to change my religion because to me, my religion is a big part of who I am. I don't want to
Right.
move because I want to be close to my immediate family.
Hmm.
Other people,
Hmm.
it's those are deeply rooted kind of values that people have, and some people don't, and those matter. And if you don't have that, like it doesn't, it's just gonna,
Hmm.
you're right, it's gonna have so much frustration and
Yeah.
angst, and then you can't be in the same city and things like that. So you got to see if he's willing to try, see if
Yeah.
he's willing
I'm
to
just
get through his
nervous he
resentment.
will do it out of like guilt. Like, I don't want to lose you, so I'll do it, but I'm gonna hate it. Like, that's just,
Well, and
I
then
don't
if he
know.
says that, you say, well, listen, obviously I don't want you to hate it, and
Hmm.
I'm just hoping that you'll be surprised, and like I accept that if you move, that might happen. And that's
Hmm.
the thing. Are you both willing to take this risk and have it not work out, only for him to have to move back? Like these are just tough choices you
Yeah.
guys are going to have to make.
Yeah.
How much do you want to? And that's the thing. At the end of the day, it just comes down to your priorities.
Yeah, I do feel a little stubborn slash selfish for me. Like, actually, no, that's not true because I'm just putting my foot down. I don't want to move back there. I've already tried it. I hate it. Whatever.
Yeah. And listen, maybe it is a little selfish of you, but like
Yeah.
if you aren't happy, you can't be happy in a relationship, and that's
Yeah.
unromantic and whatever, but it's still a reality.
Hmm.
It just is.
The other
Yeah.
thing that I would add is I had a friend who was dating a guy. They met one summer. He was the year behind her in college, like in our hometown of Boston. They'd been long distance for 3 years. And so right after college, because she was ahead of him, she moves to SF. She works in coding. She had the most amazing life there. The plan was he's going to look for a job in SF, join her there. He applied for jobs for like years, truly 2 years, and was unable to find a job. Part of this was like the pandemic. But she
Right.
decided she was going to move back to Boston so that way they could be in the same city, have a year living, both independently and then move in together was kind of her plan. And honestly, like myself and I think some of our other friends were like, what are you doing? Like, how are you, like you've built this amazing life for yourself in SF. You're so happy. You have this awesome apartment.
Yeah.
You have awesome roommates. Like, you're going to leave this, you're just going to like go back to Boston. Like, you have all your whole life to go back to Boston. But I think something
Yeah.
that my mom said that really changed the way I viewed it, she's like, she's an adult and like she knows what she's doing. And I think
Yeah.
just like something to keep in mind as you do navigate this incredibly complicated situation is like constantly checking in with yourself about like what is like a true deep feeling and what is like kind of optics. Because I can totally imagine, like, from a pride standpoint or a stubbornness, like, there's probably a part of you that's like, in the context of this conversation, I cannot view moving back there as an option.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
in the way that you're asking him to be open and try that out for a year, also doing your best to, like, be really honest with yourself. And if there is space for openness and knowing that you're an adaptable person who can grow and change, and there might be conditions down the line where you would be able to move back to your hometown, and maybe they wouldn't be. And so it's like, and it's completely morally neutral, whichever it is. But just like, I don't know. I think sometimes, like, I learned a lot from that in terms of, like, getting caught up in it.
That's a good point too. And like, and I love that you have a job that you value, and I love that you're prioritizing that. At the same time, you know, in a world where people are having a hard time finding and making connections with people, you know, I think that brings a lot of people in this world happiness is who they choose to spend their life with and have a family with and have that community. And those things are truly hard to find. And so
it
know,
is hard because,
jobs
like,
come and go.
I know. That's where I struggle with that too, because in our hometown, like, my family's there, his family's there, our friends are there, and so it would be like it's kind of,
How old are
people
you
just
again?
assume I'm 28.
Okay.
So people just assume that I am going to be the one that moves because of all those factors, but, like, I love it here generally. And so I don't know. It's
You are, and how old is he?
27.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, for your trial, like, you guys could live there for 5 years.
Mhm.
And then, you know, all of a sudden you're 32, 33. Do you want kids?
Yeah.
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 So you want kids. Maybe when you start planning a family, your priorities might drastically change.
Yeah, free babysitting from 2 sets of parents could be an absolute
Yeah.
game changer.
And you're like, I love my
Yeah.
job, but like I've been fulfilled by that. I'm ready to start a family, and maybe he decides to stay home and be, the stay-at-home dad. I don't know, but I'm confident in saying that your priorities are going to change, both of you, in the next 3 to 5 years. So,
Yeah.
you know, the fact that you have tried, is he willing to try? Is he willing to make a sacrifice, one that you've already tried before he existed, and, you know, live there for a year or two and still be able to drive home on the weekends and visit his boys? And maybe it's every other weekend. You know, he's already traveling and his friends can come out here, and then you guys figure out, you know, trips or whatever, and, you know, whatever. Like, you could definitely make it work, and just be open to, you know, things changing. And a year from now, maybe you fucking hate each other and you break up, you know, but I think there's some manageable ways here to try to make this work. But I do think you, more than anything, stop avoiding the conversation.
I think you're right. I think I should be a little more assertive about asking him to actually, like, consider moving here.
Yeah. And just say, like, and maybe it's like, who knows? Maybe what I do know is right now, where I'm at in my life at 28 years old, I need this. I need to be at this job. I need this. I can't go home. If we get to the point where we start having a family together, it could, I'm not making promises, but it could make a lot of sense for us to move back home, you know? And
fair.
And yeah.
And you don't need to sell your house. You can just rent it out for the year.
Try to rent it out. We'll make it work.
I think that's a big thing.
You know,
that he's like concerned about is he owns his house, and, like, we wouldn't own here probably because it's more expensive. So.
Okay, that's fine too. As long as you still own the real estate, you know, and you're renting here, it's fine. Not you don't, like, you want to own a home, but, like, renting isn't always the bad option, especially if you're not sure if you're committed to that area. So, like, who really knows? So, it's definitely manageable. And you both need to acknowledge that, like, you're not going to be able to, neither of you are going to be able to do this without, like, having inconveniences. So, like, sometimes when people have this conversation, you're trying to figure out how can we do this without either of us being annoyed or inconvenienced? No, you're gonna be annoyed, you're gonna be inconvenienced, and you're doing it because ultimately the priority is each other in the relationship, and you're just gonna figure it out.
Right. That's fair.
All right.
I guess I will also be inconvenienced.
You will be inconvenienced.
Yeah.
If
really.
if this relationship is a priority. Yeah.
It is for sure. So
Okay.
okay then.
Keep us posted.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you. If you ever want to do a mediation call with him,
okay,
let us know.
I haven't told him about this, so maybe after I do.
Yeah, it's anonymous, but yeah, just throwing it out there.
Okay.
But either way, good luck and stop avoiding this conversation.
Okay, done.
All right, take care.
Have it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Tell us how
All
it goes, please.
Bye,
We're
guys.
very invested. Tell us how it goes.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
How's it going?
Hi, I'm Bridget and I'm 25 years old.
How can we help, Bridget?
So I am uncomfortable with my boyfriend's female friends because they act like they're his boyfriend.
Okay. So this is like multiple friends. Is there not one specific friend that we're concerned about?
So there's multiple girlfriends, but there's just this one specifically.
Okay. What are some examples of things that she has done that has raised some red flags?
So for Christmas, they all exchange gifts, and this has been happening, I guess, for multiple years since they've been friends. But she got him a vintage Tommy Hilfiger jacket, which I feel like is a very intimate gift to get your friend. I don't know what it would be equivalent to, like if one of my guy friends got me jewelry or perfume or something on that level. And also,
And was there a story behind this jacket?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But
what did your boyfriend think about the jacket? Because if someone got me a vintage Tommy Hilfiger jacket, no offense to Tommy, but I'd be like, thanks.
So we were on a phone call last week, and he just showed it to me, and I kind of visibly got upset and was just like, that's like kind of interesting thing to get your friend. And he didn't see why I was getting upset, or he was like, this is just my friend who's giving me a gift. I think it's pretty ridiculous that you're like upset over this.
Well, I guess the big question is what he thought of the gift. Like, how meaningful was it to him?
He was like, look at this cool jacket that my friend got for me. And I was like, oh, I just think like when you put on a jacket or like you put on something, perfume, you think about the person who got it for you.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean like if you're in a relationship that people can't buy you clothes.
Yeah. I guess I feel like I'm not only upset about that, or like that's the only thing that has happened.
Yeah, give us another example.
So this was maybe a month or two ago, we were out at the bar together, and it was about 2 a.m. and he had to take a phone call, and it was the same girl, and he kind of lied and said, I asked who it was, and he lied and said it was somebody that we were with at the bar who was like standing behind me. So I was like, okay, that's a little weird. But then he kind of got into it, and that this girl was calling him to like talk about girl drama. So I feel like he's like in this friend group and just is like in girl drama, I guess.
In this friend group, how did it originate? Is this a high school friend group?
I think it's college friend group. So
okay. And how many other guys are in this friend group?
I don't know. And I think like they have wine nights. Like we're doing distance, so he like lives in a different city than I do.
Okay.
That's 2 hours away, and I feel like that's also like a big issue where it's like these girls are getting time that I wish I had, kind of. And I feel like I'm just becoming like a little insecure and like hostile.
Well, he lied to you about it, so there's that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, are you friends with any of these women at all?
So whenever I go and visit, they're very nice to me, and I feel like I would do the same thing, like be nice to as well, but I
Sure.
don't know what they do behind my back or, like not with him. Like,
But have you gotten
obviously,
any weird vibe? I mean, you've given us these examples, but like in
yeah,
terms of being in their presence with her,
just like sometimes like looks or if, I feel like another example is like, I kind of just want to be differentiated from his girlfriends. Like, whereas, so for example, like I went to visit him one weekend, and this is so simple, but or like so minuscule maybe to some people, but um, he like bought this cool shop that's like $20 or something, and he like brought that same girlfriend to the same bar the next week and like was trying to convince her to go to this other bar, and because he got the shop for her as well the following week. Like I know it's like
no, no,
minuscule, but it kind of upsets me that
what is
the
she?
same things are happening.
What does she look like? Like,
So she's very much his type, like
okay,
um
I think you have reason
and
to
I
be
think
concerned.
and I think that's what is makes me insecure too.
If you can say they're his type, I mean that doesn't mean, yeah, and yeah, I mean there's some valid concerns here, you know.
And I
Um,
and I feel like my thing was I have asked a lot of my girlfriends and even my guy friends, like, okay, is this weird? Am I overreacting? Because I don't want to like react and have like this whole thing blow up over a jacket, but like I just need it more so an outsider's opinion looking in, like, and I know you have a lot of girlfriends, and I feel like
yeah. Well, I
friends
do.
who are girls,
I do, and
but
I always have, but I had a lot more when I was single, and
yeah, I just
and
think it
and
comes with boundaries and
exactly, and the women. When I say a lot, I have the same amount of friends, but the amount of which I see those friends is drastically changed.
yeah,
And this has been kind of a theme of with some of the callers today, but it all comes down to how he responds to your concerns. You know,
it's
and
very
it's
defensive.
yeah, and that's not okay.
No.
And granted, like it might play. I don't know how you're saying this or how you're communicating this, because we can communicate our insecurities and frustrations one way that can be triggering to other people and get them to be defensive. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like that might make someone defensive rather than, hey babe, I'm just a little uncomfortable. And like when you said, granted the birthday gift, you were just like, well, that's fucking weird. Like when
Hmm.
you call someone weird or say something's weird and then they think it's normal, that's going to get them defensive. Right. So make it, I don't know if you've heard me on other episodes, kind of use this example of like lead with your insecurities. Like, hey, it's just that made me uncomfortable and it's just a personal gift. And it just like, more importantly, like it really bothered me and that you lied to me. That made me uncomfortable. And so you should be in a relationship where you can express your discomfort. And if you're in a relationship worthwhile, that other person should say, well, I don't want you to feel that way. And that is the priority. And I'm going to have to adjust my priorities based on how you feel. Now, you're going to have to be somewhat reasonable, right? And it sounds like you're reasonable. You're not telling him he can't have friends, but you're
Exactly.
asking him to have some boundaries because he claims or says he wants to be in a romantic relationship with someone. And yeah, like, you can have friends of the opposite sex, but when, those friends are people who they're your physical type and they get to spend more quality time with them because it's long distance, you need them to go out of their way to make you feel like a priority, and they need to figure out how to do that. Now they can figure out by asking you, babe, well, hey, every time that Nally and I talk about when we're, if we're having any disconnect or we're not on the same page or one person's like doing something that's making the other person like just a little uncomfortable, like we just say that, and the other person's response is always, well, I don't want you to feel that way. And that immediately becomes the priority. And like sometimes you have to make adjustments, and it doesn't mean it's just like, well, I can't tell Natalie not to feel a certain way. Like I ask her to be reasonable with certain things, but like I'm not trying to focus on how reasonable or unreasonable I think she's being in that moment. The priority is I don't want her to feel that way. And that goes a long way, because it's just the acknowledgement of like, I don't want you to feel that way. And I'm going to like, and instead of getting defensive, instead of like, blaming you, like, well, that's a you problem, or that's weird that you think it's weird. Like, instead of responding that way first, me saying to Natalie or Natalie saying to me, well, I don't want you to feel that way, so I'm gonna make some changes. And just that alone makes me feel better, And she doesn't always have to stop doing what was the thing that was bothering me. It's just like, just knowing that she gives a shit, or that knowing that I give a shit, that her feelings and her security, and I don't want to play a role in her anxiousness. I don't want to play a role in her stress. I want to be the opposite. And that's a priority for me. And just knowing that you're in a relationship with that person gives a shit about that it just goes a long way. So, maybe you can try to communicate that way, because it sounds like maybe you kind of maybe said some things where it's like, I could see how he could get defensive. So maybe try just saying, hey babe, I'm just a little uncomfortable and I need your help. And it would mean a lot to me if you could set a little bit more boundaries with these friends, because like, be friends, but do you really need to be taking late night phone calls and talking about like their drama in their life? It just makes me uncomfortable. Like and that shouldn't be a hard ask for him. It just shouldn't.
I agree, and I feel like I've been continuously saying this makes me uncomfortable. I don't know why you're getting so defensive about it. I'm just like, want you to give a shit. Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I want you to give a shit. And it's just been not what's the word? Absorbing, I guess. And
How old is he?
I feel he is 25 as well, but
Okay.
just a little younger.
Yeah.
But we dated in high school. And then we like rekindled in July. So obviously we have
This is a relatively new relationship.
Yes. So obviously we started different lives for 5 years that we weren't together. So we have different friends, and like, that's fine. And I'm not asking you to live under a rock, but I just need to be prioritized. And I feel like we can't have a conversation where I can't go to his house and quickly and have this conversation. It's all on text. Or he was going away last weekend, and I was like, can we talk on the phone so that we're not texting back and forth like we're 12? But he had to go to the gym. So I feel like that's just like, there's no priorities. Like, I'm not a priority, I feel like, and I don't want to be that way. Like,
yeah. While you were talking, I was thinking, like, I was like, what, does she reach out to her and try to get closer with her? And then I thought, like, there is no world, I don't even know who this girl is, but if I were a betting man, my guess is, without knowing anything about her, that she would also be uncomfortable if the shoe were on the other foot.
And that's what I kind of said to him as well. Like, can you put your, because maybe he has, like, he's
well,
not
it's more about
insecure
her.
about
It's more about her putting, because he could genuinely just not be into her.
Yeah.
He could genuinely just have a friend and like not see it. But
yeah. But if she had a boyfriend who his girlfriend was giving him gifts,
yeah, right. Like you would probably relate to her in this dynamic more than him. I would be curious if she's aware of your frustrations. Yeah, I'm wondering if he's, because if they're real friends, like, if they're just, and you guys haven't been dating that long, it wouldn't be that crazy for him to be like, yeah, like she's just a little uncomfortable relationship, and yeah, I'm not sure how to handle it because like we're not doing anything, we're just friends, and like it's long distance, and you know what I'm saying? Like if he gave a shit, he would probably have this conversation with his friend and try to figure out how to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And and then she would go out of her way to, if she gave a shit, if it was like, well, no, my God, like any woman I've ever met that I've ever been friends with or friends with someone else, it was truly just platonic relationship. And if I, and in this scenario, let's say I started dating someone new, and I would say, I go to my friend, I'd be like, oh, so and so is just like struggling with our dynamic. If it was truly platonic, that friend would say to me, well, do you want me to talk to her? Or that friend would make it a priority to make sure that my girlfriend didn't feel that way. Because my friends want me to be happy, and my friends don't want me to have drama in relationships. And if I tell my friend, hey, I really like this person, I really want to try to make this work, can you help me out? My friends would do that. That's what having a friend is, But
I feel like a little disrespected in that fact too from her.
Do you know if he's said anything to her?
I don't, because
I'd be
he
curious.
went away, so we haven't really spoken because I didn't want to.
So when you talk to him in person, I want you to, when you bring this up and without getting into it, just say, I would say, does so and so know that I've been uncomfortable with certain things about a relationship? And just ask him.
Okay.
I'm curious what he says. My guess is he's going to think that you would be bothered by him telling her.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, would you?
Telling her that I'm uncomfortable.
If you found out that, because I think that's if this is truly a friendship, if this is truly a platonic friendship where him being friends with her is no different than him being friends with Carl, or whatever buddy he has, then as a friend, he would have gone to that friend and said, oh, my girlfriend is just like, she's new to this dynamic and she's a bit of an outsider because, we're friends and like, so can you help me make her more comfortable with our friendship? Well, what do you think? And, and so I'm really curious if he's said anything to her about it.
I'm curious as well. And what you said about like being an outsider, I feel like that is exactly how I feel too. It's like,
because if he's like, no, I haven't said it. Like, why? Like, why? Like, why? If there's,
friends? Yeah,
aren't you friends? Like, wouldn't you? Like, I mean, there's a way where I can feel a lot more comfortable about this. And I just, there's more than I feel like I don't know about her or the relationship. I'm just like, I'm choosing to trust you right now, and you're kind of making it hard. And maybe there's nothing going on, but like, all I have is this. I'm forced to have to choose to trust you, and I want to choose to trust you because I want to have a relationship where I choose to trust. But like, making it real fucking difficult, and like, you're not making any effort, or it doesn't seem like it, to like make me more comfortable or less worried. And I'm just like
reassured.
Yeah,
I feel like if I was reassured in any way, that I wouldn't have like, I would know that I wouldn't feel insecure, and it's like this big cycle of like, I don't know if I'm meeting your needs and wants because I'm not being reassured, and it's like this big blow up. And
when was the last time you had a girlfriend before you?
I think a year and a half before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to track her down.
Yeah. Because
I'm curious what they thought about this friend.
I also said like, no woman, I don't think, would have not the same reaction unless. So, and I feel like
it would just be like, I don't know. I Natalie's never said this to me, but I'm pretty certain that she wouldn't appreciate any woman friend calling me at 2 a.m. for any reason other than they're in some sort of danger or need some help.
Yeah.
And not just gossip.
No, and that's what it was. So it's just very, very difficult. And I feel like if I knew these friends well, it would be different, but I don't. I am that outsider, and I just, exactly what you said, like I just have to trust, but it's kind of hard when there's other things that have happened. That
Yeah, I'm sure you heard me talk about choosing to trust, and that's better than not, but
Yeah.
he's now giving you reasons to question that trust you've given so freely. And this
Yeah.
relationship isn't that old, and you still have a lot to learn about him and this relationship and this group dynamic. And everything you're learning isn't like reducing your anxiety or questions. It's kind of doing the opposite. So yeah, I don't think you should ignore it, and it doesn't make you crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would ask more questions, and I would questions around him going out of his way, like you said, to make you feel like a priority, or that he cares about you feeling this way. It's just not that this is not about like, well, you can't stop me being friends with people. Like you said, this is about boundaries and just putting just a little effort. It's just you're asking for a little effort. It's not that much effort. And his friends, if they cared about him as friends only, wouldn't have that hard of a time of respecting these just a little bit of reasonable boundaries that I can almost certain they would want if the shoe were on the other foot.
Exactly.
And the fact that he seems so unwilling to do that, there's most likely a reason why.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, it wouldn't blow my mind if you somehow tracked down an ex-girlfriend and if she was like, yeah, I fucking hated Jenny. And it wouldn't shock me if Jenny, in this scenario, every time he finds a girlfriend, gets a little bit more territorial. And these gifts and these calls aren't they're not an accident either.
Yeah, that's why
I've had territorial platonic girlfriends in the past with other relationships that I mean, this was a long time. This was college, but I had to stop being friends with someone because she didn't like my girlfriend, and I had to make a choice, and she didn't want, and there was some and it was more than just a friendship. There was, I knew this person in high school and I liked her, and then she had, it was a complicated friendship, and then we yeah. So that wouldn't shock me. You're not crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess keep, I wouldn't sit on this for too long. If he doesn't make any like significant changes, I would consider leaving this relationship.
Yep. I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
And I'm very close to it. I feel like I've tried to get. I feel like I just need an in-person kind of conversation.
If you approach this in the way we suggested, very calmly, and just kind of ask for his support and his help, and in any way he says something or implies that you are crazy, break up with him.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if they like ended up in a relationship
Yeah,
a
me
little
neither.
bit down the line.
Yeah, me neither.
Down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, sorry
so
you're dealing with it, but
it's okay.
yeah.
New year.
I have a feeling you'll be fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Keep us posted.
I will.
All right.
I will.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
And if you have not yet listened to our update show, we had another fantastic one of those drop on Friday. So give it a listen. We have those because of the popular demand. So if you like it, keep demanding it, and we'll keep doing it.
All right. Awesome.